Hello and welcome to the Unit 6 Section 3 video on solving by substitution. So to solve by substitution, you just have to follow a few steps. The first of which is to isolate one variable and put a big box around what it equals. Okay, so you want to isolate one of the variables. Get it by itself. And then you're going to solve you're going to put the expression into the variable. So you're going to plug or substitute the expression. It's where we get the term substitution from. Substitute the expression into the variable. You can put a small box around the variable of the other equation. Then we're going to solve the equation for the remaining variable. Then you're going to substitute the answer into one of the equations to solve for the other variable. So you're going to substitute to solve for the other variable. Okay? So let's see what this looks like with a few examples. So in this first example, we have y equaling x minus 8 and y also equals 3. So we know that y equals x minus 8. So I'm going to put a box around that. We also know y equals 3. Well, x minus 8 is y. So I'm going to put x minus 8 in place of y. And if I do that, you're going to get x minus 8 equals 3. And then I'm just going to add 8 to each side to find out what x is, which x is 11. Then I'm going to take the 11 and plug it back in. Now, you don't necessarily need to do that in this case because we know what y equals. Y equals 3, we're told that. But if you were to substitute it back into the first one, put it in place of x, then you would get y equals 3. Okay? And so finally, you're going to express your answer as an ordered pair, 11, 3, just like we did with graphing. All right, now let's take a look at example 2. We have what y equals here. Y is negative 4x plus 12. And we're going to put that in for y here. So 2x plus negative 4x plus 12 is equal to 2. Well, 2x minus 4x, well, let's distribute first. We got minus 4x plus 12 equals 2. 2x minus 4x is going to give us negative 2x. That's combining like terms. Then we're going to subtract 12 from each side. And so that gives us negative 2x equals negative 10. Divide each side by negative 2. And you get x equals 5. So now we are going to plug that back in. You can do it in either equation. I'm going to do it in the first because the first is already solved for y. So negative 4 times 5 plus 12. So y is going to be equal to negative 20 plus 12. So y is going to be negative 8. And so our answer is 5, negative 8. For example 3, we need to solve for one of the variables. Now you don't have to solve for y, you can solve for x, and that's what I'm going to do in this first one. The first one I'm going to solve as x is equal to 2y minus 3, because you add 2y to each side, this is what you get. I'm going to take this value for x, and I'm going to substitute that in here. So that's going to give me 3 times 2y minus 3 plus 5y equals 24. Now we distribute 6y minus 9 plus 5y equals 24. 6y plus 5y gives me 11y. That's combining like terms. And now we're going to add 9 to each side. So 11y equals 33. Divide each side by 11. 33 divided by 11 gives us 3. So y equals 3. Now, we can plug this back into one of the originals. In fact, I'm going to plug it into the first one. X minus 2 times 3 is equal to negative 3. Well, that gives us x minus 6 is equal to negative 3. And when you add 6 to each side, that's going to give you, let me clean that up a little bit. Clean that up. Try to make my work neat. Add 6 to each side. That's going to give us x is equal to positive 3. So our answer here is 3, 3. All right, for example 4, I'm going to solve this top one for y by subtracting 3x from each side. Now I'm going to substitute that in for x in the second equation. So we've got, substitute it in for y. So we're going to keep the 6x, but we're going to put in for y negative 3x minus 5. That's going to be equal to 10. So, like the last problem, we're going to distribute first. And when we do, we get 2 times negative 3x is negative 6x. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And that equals 10. Well, the 6x's cancel, and we're left with negative 10 equals 10. Recall that when we have a false statement like the one we have here, then we have no solution. And we're done. There's no solution, which means these lines are parallel. All right, let's move on to the next set of examples. So for this first one, we have what y equals, so we're just going to plug that into y in the second equation. So 5x plus 12x, when we distribute, minus 18 equals negative 1. Combine the like terms. That gives us 17x minus 18 equals negative 1. Add 18 to each side. And you're going to have 17x is equal to 17. Divide each side by 17. And you get x is equal to 1. Now let's go back to our original equation and find out what y is by plugging in x. 4 minus 6 gives us negative 2. So our solution is 1, negative 2. All right, for the next example, let's solve this one for x. We'll solve the top one for x by adding 3y to each side. So x equals 3y minus 9. So we're going to substitute that in for x. We have 5 times 3y minus 9 minus 2y equals 7. So 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 9 is 45. We still got our minus 2y and our equals 7. 15y minus 2y is going to give us 13y. We add 45 to each side. So 13y is equal to 45 plus 7 is 52. And so we are going to have y equals 4 when we divide each side by 13. So we're going to take that 4, we'll plug it back into the original. So we have x minus 3 times 4 equals negative 9. X minus 12 equals negative 9. You add 12 to each side, and you are going to get x is equal to 3. So our solution is 3, 4. All right, let's move on to example 3. So for this one, we have to figure out if we want to solve for x or y. Well, y is by itself here, so let's solve for y. We can do that by moving y over. So let's do that down here. Let's go ahead and just take care of that here. So we have negative 1 is equal to 2x minus y. So let's add a y to each side. And that's going to give us y minus 1 is equal to 2x. And then let's add the 1 to each side. So we have y is equal to 2x plus 1. We're going to plug that into the first one, or into the second one. So 2x plus 1 in place of y. So we have 8x, we'll distribute, minus 8x. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. 8x minus 8x gives us 0, so we're left with negative 4 equals negative 4. Now you may recall that when we have a true statement, that means we have infinite solutions. So as it turns out, both of those equations are the equation of the same line. All right, for number 4, we have y equals x plus 5. That's already solved for us, so we're going to put that in place of y here. So 3x plus x gives us 4x. Subtract the 5 from each side. You get 4x equals 20. Divide each side by 4. And you have x is equal to 5. So now we can just plug that back into one of the originals. The top one is the easier of the two because 5 plus 5 is 10. So your answer is 5, 10. All right, for number 5, we have x is equal to something. So let's go ahead and plug that into our second equation. We'll distribute 4y minus 8 plus y is equal to 2. Combine our like terms, add the 8, and then divide by 5. So you get y is equal to 2. Now we're going to plug that back into the first equation. X is equal to 2 minus 2, so x is 0. So our answer is 0, 2. All right, in our final example, we have y equals to two things, so we can set them equal to each other. So we have 2x plus 1 is equal to 3x. Subtract 2x from each side, and you get x equals 1. So let's just plug that into, the second one, because 3 times 1 is easy enough. That's just 3. So our answer is 1, 3. All right, so that is how substitution works. We solve one equation for one variable, plug it into the other, solve that variable, and then plug that back into the first one to get our second variable. All right, in the next section, we're going to cover our third way of solving a system of equations, and that is solving by elimination. And we'll be spending the next 2 sections on doing that.